project. So number one is project work are not routine. Okay, so project work are not routine. So it means work carried in a project is not something that you do on a regular basis. So FIP is an example of work which is considered as project. Tutorial are not project because tutorial are routine. So difference between software project and other types of project like construction projects. So challenges in software project. So what are the challenges faced by project manager, challenges faced by developers, and challenges faced by customers. So the project life cycle, there are 4 stages. Okay, identify a need, developing the solution, execute the project, okay, and close it. Okay, so once the project is completed, then you move on to the next project, you also involve these 4 stages. So project appraisal are something that you will do before project start, cash flow forecasting. So you have to do a fixed cash flow forecast when you have to spend money to develop the project. Okay, you estimate how much you need to spend and for how long. So you have to spend money from your pocket. Okay, if you don't have enough money, you can borrow from bank. So that is our expenditure. Okay, and then when you get returns, okay, when you get returns, so at the end of the project life cycle, at the end of the product lifetime, so when the system will not be used anymore, you have to spend a small amount of money to remove the system from operation. Okay, so for project, you will bring a project, what are the costs and what are the benefits you can gain. So this net profit, payback period, ROI, and PV are financial techniques to see which project is more profitable. So to choose a project, okay, to choose a project for development, you can use financial technique, and there is also non-financial technique. So this is the non-financial technique, weighted scoring model. Student, stop talking. When I'm talking here, you have to stop talking. This is a basic rule. Basic rule and also basic manners. Okay, project selection. This is a non-financial technique, weighted scoring model. So this technique, for this technique, you specify the relevant criterion for project selection. So this is the number 1 thing to do, and then weight the importance of each criterion. So NPV ROI can be the criterion. Okay. So weighted scoring model. So the first thing to do is specify the criterion for project selection. Okay. You can specify as many as you specify those as levels. Okay, example. Okay, so the criteria must support business objective. The project must support business objective. Resources are available. The project is the project that you want to do is less than 2 months. We don't want to do a project that is more than a year. Project is low risk. Okay, probability of success is high. Okay, good ROI. Okay, after this, next thing to do is give a weight to each criteria. Okay, so you give a weight to each criteria. So if it is not or less important, you give a lower percentage. If the criteria is very important, you give a higher percentage. So for the weightage column, so total is 100. Okay, cannot be more than 100 or less than 100. Okay. Then you have 3 projects. So which one to choose?
registration
Then
number
you
是
give
我
a
10个
number.
ID 啊。
Okay, for each project you give a number for each criteria. Okay, so you assign a score 0 to 100 to each
Form
criteria.
1。
Okay, so each project you assign a score from 0 to 100. Okay, this is the changes that I have made. High score means high score, 80, 90 is considered as high score.
Program
High
是
score
RSW
means
还
the
是 Bachelor
project
in
strongly meet the specified criteria. Okay, so this means project one probability of success is very high. Okay, project one low risk maybe. Okay, so 50 means maybe. So 90 means for project one, 90 means okay, probability of success is high. So for project one, probability of success high, you give a higher number, you assign a higher score. So you do the same for project two and project three. So high score means project strongly meet the specified criteria. And low score means it is less likely to meet the specified criteria. Okay, 50, 50, or this 50. So this 50 means project one low risk. Okay, maybe it is not low risk, so we give 50. Okay, you can give 50 or lower than 50. Okay, and the number that is appropriate. So you do this, and this one. Okay, so next you calculate the score. You calculate the score for each project 1, 2, and 3. Okay, you calculate the score. How this score is calculated is you use the weightage, multiply the score. Okay, so the percentage multiply the score, sum them up, it will give you the score for each project. So then you choose project with the highest score. Okay, so this is a calculation for project 2. Okay, percent multiply the score. Okay, sum them up. There is the weighted score. Okay, so weighted score for project 1, 2, 3. So choose project with the highest score. So this is an alternative way of choosing project. Okay, so not based on financial values. Okay, so I've done 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Next is 1.3, 1.4. Knowledge and attributes of a project manager. So project manager need to have knowledge in 10 areas. So a project manager need to have knowledge in 10 areas: scope management, time management, cost management, quality management, HR management, communication, risk, procurement, stakeholder, and integration management. Okay, so combining all this knowledge to manage project.
不然这像什么啊？
Okay,
这什么课啊？
so this is project life cycle stage 1
Project
and 2.
management
Stage 1 and 2.
should be okay.
Project life cycle stage 3. Project life cycle stage 4. So these are the knowledge area. So from here you can see the knowledge area. Okay, most of this knowledge area you need to apply it in project life cycle stage number 3. Okay. So let's look at the first knowledge area that a project manager need to have. Project scope management. Okay, so scope management define and control what work is and is not included in the project. Okay, so what is work and what is not work. What is not included is exclusion. Okay, so scope management you have to scope management first define and control what work is and is not included in the project. So meaning you have to draw the boundary. Okay, so you have to draw the boundary, what you will do and what you will not do for the project. Okay, make it clear. This is a very important task in scope management. So major work in scope management. So major 6 main processes refer to major work in scope management. Student, stop talking. Okay, project scope management. So the main processes: plan scope management, collect requirements, define scope, create work breakdown structure, validate scope, control scope. Okay. So plan scope management means define how scope will be managed. Okay, scope define the boundaries of a project. So the project scope define the boundary of the project. Okay, what work will be done and what will not be done. Okay, you don't have to rush to insert these notes into your what you have in your laptop or laptop. So after I completed chapter 1, I upload this to Google Classroom. Okay. So every week, I say before I come, I look at the notes again and I add in something for better understanding. Okay. So plan scope management, define how scope will be managed. Okay. So the scope is the boundary of a project. Okay. So the scope is the boundary of a project. Okay, what is included and excluded. Okay, so project scope needs to be managed properly to ensure that the project deliver the agreed upon work. Okay, no more lowness. Okay, while preventing uncontrolled changes. So changes will come in. Okay, it needs to be controlled so that work is manageable. Okay, there's one part in chapter 7, okay, will give you an idea how to manage changes in scope. Okay, after you have planned scope management, next is collect requirements. So collect requirement from stakeholders. Okay, you collect requirement from stakeholders. So the stakeholders are your customer or project sponsor. Project sponsor is the one who pays for a project, or the one who want to see the project successful. It's called project sponsor. Okay, so you gather requirements from them and translate them into project requirements. So next is define scope. So create a scope statement, what are included and excluded. So adding more information as requirements are developed and change requests are approved. So when change requests are approved, okay, you have to update your project scope. So keep your project scope up to date. Number 4, create a work breakdown structure. So from your after gathering requirement, okay, you know the scope, create a work breakdown structure, WBS. So work breakdown structure is a hierarchy of activities. Okay, example like this. This is a hierarchy of activities. Okay, do something like this, put them in logical sequence, group related tasks together. Students, stop talking. I can still hear you. When I hear you talking, you are disturbing me. Okay, so this is an example of a work breakdown structure. So when you create this work breakdown structure, try to follow this guideline. Break down the work until each task can be performed by one person within 8 to 80 hours. 80 to 80 hours is equal to 1 to 10 days. So meaning this is the individual task. Okay, so this individual task should be performed by one person. Okay, duration should be between 1 to 10 days. Example, May. Five days. Okay, define requirement, define user requirement. Okay, like this. It is recommended that when you create this work breakdown structure, you split the task. Okay, you split the task. Okay, eventually one task is performed by one person. Okay, duration is between 1 to 10 days.
填完这上面就没有东西填了哈。过后我不懂哦，他叫我们 leave it blank。他不懂，他叫我们 leave it blank。他什么的跟东西同一个鬼。
Okay, so this is not recommended.
我不懂。
Okay, 2 person, 12 days. Okay, 2 person, 12 days. Okay, handling this task. This is not a good arrangement because if something went wrong, who to blame? Okay, who to blame?
没有电脑。
Okay, so this one you can split to 2 front end jack. Front end by jack. Front end by jack 5 days. Back end by G 7 days. Okay, split it. Okay, split it so that one task is handled by one person. This is a recommended guideline. Okay, when you are creating the work breakdown structure. Okay, so this is a sample work breakdown structure organized by phases or stages in outline number format. Okay, give each line a number. So there are how many phases or stages in this work breakdown structure? Okay, how many? Yeah, make a guess. How many phases or stages? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 stages. Sub-stages. These are sub-stages. Sub-stages. So there are 5 stages. This is level 2 sub-stages. Level 3 sub-stages. Okay, so arrange work breakdown in logical sequence in 10 subtasks. Okay, so these 3 are subtasks of defined requirements in them. Okay, in them so that we can see there how many subtasks and the relationship between tasks. This is not a good idea to arrange in this way. Okay, this is difficult to understand. This is difficult to understand. Do something like this, okay, which is most presentable and easier to understand. Okay. So number 5, validate scope. Okay, validate scope. You have created the work breakdown structure. So let stakeholder, customer, or project sponsor inspect the work breakdown structure, okay, and formally accept the work breakdown structure. Okay. So if not acceptable, then you should stakeholder will usually request for changes, then you have to make changes. Okay, control scope. Okay, so control changes to scope throughout the life of the project. So if changes to requirements come in or new requirements come in, so you have to know how to control it. Okay, you have to know how to control it. So this will be handled by the change controller, okay, which will be covered in chapter 7. Change may be allowed, but it must be controlled and approved by the change controller. So that is scope management. Okay. So project manager need to know how to define scope. Okay, define scope. Okay, let customer know. Okay, what will be worked on. Okay, and what will not be what the developers will do, what the developers will not do. Okay, so next is project time management. Hello, student. Stop talking. Stop talking, yeah? So next area of project time management. Several main processes: plan, schedule management, define activity sequence, estimate activity resources, estimate activity duration. Okay. So first is plan, schedule management. Plan, schedule management. So when planning schedule management, need to establish policy, procedures, and documentation for planning, developing, managing, executing, and controlling the project schedule. Very long-winded. Seems complicated here. Okay. So plan schedule management. For plan schedule management, project manager need to establish policy, procedures, and documentation for planning, developing, managing, executing, and controlling the project schedule. So if you do not have if right now there are no policy, there are no procedures and documentation to handle how schedule should be developed and managed, so you have to create a policy. Okay, so you have to if you do not have the policy, then you have to create a policy. So an example of policy for developing, okay, let me give you an example of policy for developing a project schedule. It is a good idea to have policy when developing project schedule. So this is work breakdown structure: start date, end date, duration, dependency. So after you have added this information, then you have a project schedule. So the policy that you may want to the policy that you want to create and let people follow is when creating a project schedule is, for example, start date, end date. End date minus start date is a duration. So duration unit of measurement, okay, you can specify hours, days, or weeks. Okay. Project for a task, the duration for a task you can specify. Okay, this task need how many days, need how many hours or weeks. Okay. So you may have to establish policy whenever anyone make a project schedule. The unit measurement for duration is always days. It is not one project days and one project weeks. Okay, the project in hours. Okay, so fix it in such a way that okay, whenever a project schedule is created, the duration is measured in days. Okay, all people follow. Okay, and all projects, the project schedule use the same unit of measurement. Okay, so another policy that you may want to establish is duration of each task. should not be more than 10 days. So you have many tasks. So each task should not be more than 10 days. So if initially you have created a task where it is more than 10 days, then you split into 2 subtasks.
你们有讲 rename 要放什么 format 吗？
So that's how you can achieve. That's how you can meet this requirement.
OK，
You have a task 15 days. Okay, what you can do is split into 2 subtasks. Each one will be less than 10 days.
什么都没有写。
Okay, so this is a policy, not procedure. This and this are policy. They are not procedure. University dress code is policy or procedure.
OK，
The university policy, no short pants, no slipper. Is policy or procedure? Okay, policy, is policy. Okay, so policy and procedure, they are 2 different things. They are 2 different, okay, not the same. Okay, example 1, 2, example 3. Okay, so date, start date, end date. Use day, month, year format. Okay, so use day, month, year format. Okay, so use this format consistently when a schedule is created. Okay, if one project use day, month, year, and another project use month, day, year, the one who read these 2 different schedules will confuse. Okay, make it consistent. So can you give one example of policy that you want to implement when creating a project schedule? Any other policy that you may want to suggest? Yeah, anyone? Hands up. Data privacy policy. Can you explain now? Okay, it's a policy. What about policy that related to the creation of project schedule? The policy which is related to creating project schedule. Excellent. Can speak louder. Okay. Good day is working days from Monday to Friday. Yes. Okay. Policy. Working day is Monday to Friday. Saturday, Sunday, strictly no work. So when you create a project schedule, make sure that any Saturday and Sunday there's no one is working on it. Okay, any other things? The project schedule must be created using Microsoft Project. Okay. So the software tools used for creating the project schedule must be Microsoft Project. Okay, because if one project using Microsoft Project and another software using another project using another software, the peers will not look the same. So use same software when creating a project schedule. Okay, so we use different because your loss different. Okay, it's different. Okay, so checking will take longer time. Alright, so these are some example of policy. Okay, so other policy would be, let's say if there is any changes to the project schedule, all stakeholders must be informed within 3 days. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Okay, number 2. Number 2, define activities. Identify the specific activities from the work breakdown structure and produce activity list, activity attributes, and milestone list. Okay, so what are activity attributes? So activity lists are all the tasks that you have to perform. So for each task, you may want to add more information like description of the activity, who is responsible to perform the activity, so resources required to perform the activity, okay, type of effort, and where the activity is carried out. Okay, so activity list, you can see name, task name, so we can add more information. Okay. This one will give you opportunity to describe the activity further. Okay, and milestone list. Okay, so milestone list is project stages. You may have a list from A to Z. Okay, so group related tasks together to form a stage. Okay, so sequence activities. Sequence activities is to set relationship between project activities. Okay, so sequence activities is to set relationship between activities, meaning you sequence the activities. Which one you do first and next. So output is Gantt chart. So this is Gantt chart. After you have sequenced the activities, you will see this, the sequence. Let me show you one thing. So these are activities. These are activities, duration for each activities, start date, end date. Okay, activities are, but these activities without sequence. Okay. Yes, you have written down the activities, but they are not in a proper sequence. You have not arranged them. So after you arrange them, this is what you will see. So here you can see the sequence of activities. Okay, so how you sequence activities is you specify the predecessor. Okay, so you use this to arrange the activity sequence. Okay, so next, estimate the amount of resources, people, equipment, and material needed to perform the activities. Okay, do an estimation amount of resources needed. Okay. Okay, number 5, estimate activity duration. Okay, so estimate duration, days or weeks needed to complete each activity. If you want to come up with a better estimate, use 3-point estimate. Okay. So this is the technique to use if you need to come up with a better time estimate for each activity. You do your FYP 1, chapter 1. There's one part that asks you to come up with a list of tasks and something like a project schedule. How do you estimate each task need how long? How do you estimate? More complex, you allocate more days. Okay. How accurate it is? How accurate? Okay, how accurate? If you have experience, then your estimation will be more accurate. Okay, yes. Experience help. But when you are working, if you are a project manager, you cannot estimate. You cannot estimate. You have to come up with your estimate must be as accurate as possible. Okay, because if a task needs 15 days, but you in your schedule you put 10 days, you cannot say you cannot give excuse. That time I don't sleep well. I'm not experienced enough. You cannot say this kind of. You cannot give this kind of excuse because you are well paid. You are well paid. You cannot give this kind of excuses. Okay, so there are better way. Okay, so to come up with a more accurate estimate. So the technique is called 3-point estimate. Okay, so 3-point estimate. Next chapter 2. So you have the duration. You estimated the duration. Okay, so you have the task list. You have estimated the duration. Okay, when you specify the start date, okay, then you have a schedule. Okay, so control schedule. Okay, so monitor the project schedule and manage changes to ensure that the project is completed on time. Okay, so monitor your schedule time to time. So update the schedule as needed to reflect changes when you receive new changes. Okay, new requirements are approved. You have to update the project schedule. Okay, and monitor the schedule. Take corrective action if there's any delay. Okay, so that is time management. Okay, so next one is project cost management. Cost management is to ensure that project team complete the project within an approved budget. Okay, so the project should be completed within approved budget. Do not spend more than what is allocated. So 4 processes are plan cost management. So each knowledge area will start with planning. Okay, so this one, plan cost management, estimate cost, determine budget, control cost. Okay, so plan cost management is establish the policy, procedure, and documentation for managing spending and controlling project costs. Output is cost management plan. So let's look at how to estimate cost. So to estimate cost, you need to know all the resources needed to complete the project. Okay, so resources like people, how many people are needed to work in the project, what are the hardware, software needed, and others. Okay, so estimate the cost of each of them. It is also good for you to mention the quantity of each resource. Okay, so quantity of each resource. So in a project manager, how many? Okay, project manager 1 developers. Depends on the size of the project. Okay, it can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100. Okay, good to specify the quantity needed. UI designer, how many? User interface designer. 1 enough? Okay, 1 enough, huh? Business analyst. Gathering requirements and study user requirements. How many? One enough, huh? So output, okay, so output will be cost estimate and basis of estimate. Okay, so this is an example of a cost table, estimated project cost. So these are cost item by category. So the cost item, the cost of each item by month. One is January, okay, one is January, February, December. So this is the 12-month cost estimate. Start with this, the cost item. Okay, you know the duration. Then the total. So this is the total for each cost item. Then the total for each month. Okay. So basis of estimate. So basis of estimate is the assumption made when preparing the cost estimate. So when you are preparing this cost estimate, you may make some assumption. Okay. Can you tell me what is the assumption? When people prepare this, what is the assumption? Okay, you see here project manager 8,000, 8,000, 8,000. Until end also 8,000. So the assumption is there's no increment for the project manager in the whole year. Okay, that is one assumption. Okay, so project cost. Okay, project cost, project manager 8,000 from start to end. Handheld devices server. Okay, handheld devices server. So this two, the cost incur in April. Okay, incur in April. So that means you spend this money at a time when you need it. Okay, you buy one set, then you buy the next set. Perhaps you need 2 sets. Okay, and you don't continue buying. That's why here are blank. Okay, here are blank. It cannot be all the cells filled up with numbers. Okay, if all the cells fill up with numbers, it doesn't make sense. So you need it for this one. The hardware you need it in April. My guess is it is needed in April. Okay, and you need more in May. That's why you buy it. Okay, after that is enough. Okay, software development. Okay, so software development, there's none in the first month. So the first one is gathering requirements, studying requirements, and designing system. Then only developers start coding. Start coding until August. Okay, until August. Okay, so testing start from March. Okay, start from March until August. Okay, travel costs. Is cost and budget the same? Okay, they are not the same. Okay, so cost is a forecasted amount to pay to complete a project. Okay, so let me repeat. These are project costs, estimated project costs. Costs are estimated amount to pay to complete the project. So you estimate the cost first. Okay, then you determine the budget. So budget is the amount of money you spend aside, okay, to pay to complete the project. Okay, so budget is spending plan, and it's better amount of money to spend from time to time to complete a project. So you must reserve enough money for each month to pay for the project. Okay, so
Okay,
cost
just
and
iPad.
budget, okay, it's not the same. You determine the cost first, then you may allocate budget. This is another cost table, a simpler one. Okay, so a simpler one. So just share with you a simpler one. Okay, so project manager, business analysts, developers, QA engineers under this category. So this is a 6-month project. So project manager need to be involved from start to end. Okay, 5,000 USD. Yeah, all these are in USD. So business analysts gather requirements and design system. So developers code and test. So QA carry out independent and final testing. Okay, so QA are involved in the last 2 months. So here is gathering requirements and design system. Then the next month coding start. Okay, so QA, quality control, the last 2 months are only involved in the last 2 months. Software tool hardware acquired in the first month. Okay, so acquired in the first month. It doesn't make sense if okay, it appears in all the month unless you can explain why. Okay, office rent every month, so may have miscellaneous expenses like traveling, meal allowance. So after you have created a cost table, it's good that you put below your cost table, write some notes. So write some notes about the cost item for better understanding. Okay, so last one is control cost. So control cost, you have to control cost if you have if you have an idea that your budget is not enough to cover the cost. So you can use earn value management to determine whether your project is still within budget or you will overspend soon. This one, chapter 2, earn value management. Okay, so earn value management. So help you to determine whether your project is within budget or over budget. Okay.
转离目标
没有，他比不过，还没有到那个 level，
这样申请
肯定会，接近4例了。
那我那就
你有信不信？